don't know. I don't know. I'm looking, yeah.
Marc Clarke, that's classic. I love it.
And just like that, we are back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Bootsy Vegas, sleepy, just woke up breath joining us.
Yes, sir. How you doing? Thank you.
Hey, man, turn your camera away from your light. Or can you do that? Can you scoot over to the... Yeah. We got...
Is that better?
It's a little bit better. Can you close it anymore? Can you close them? Is that as tight as they can do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little...
It's only our 100th show, Bootsy Vegas. It's only our 100th show.
Only.
For God's sake.
Only.
So, Bootsy, I just called you. You were obviously sleeping.
No, I was getting prepared, Mark. That's what I was doing.
Oh, you were meditating. Well, we got you. Look, today. Now, for those who watch our many shows, everybody knows we are music nerds, and our guest today is legendary. He pretty much has done all aspects of music. So we are going deep. We're going deep in, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm excited.
Without any further ado, the Game Hunter.
Yes, sir.
Greg Hunter joins us, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on, sir? How are you?
Hey, man. I'm good, Mark.
Look at him.
How you guys doing, man?
Look at him. I'm cool as a fan, baby.
Hey, but Mark, it looked like we have a lot of interesting things. He has a DC Wizards hat on, but a San Francisco background. So I know he might not be in a good mood because they just signed Jimmy G today, which means they still have two quarterbacks. And when you got two quarterbacks in the NFL, that means you don't have one. So I guess we better pep Mr. Game Hunter up here a little bit because it's going to be a tough season for his 49ers back there.
Yeah, it is, man. I'm a DC Washingtonian, man, but believe it or not, I've been a 49ers fan probably since the early 80s, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I love him.
Sorry to hear that.
I know they just re-signed Jimmy G, but I like Lance. I know he's got a little time, a little bit to learn, but hopefully they have a good season.
See,
okay.
You can see a lot about. You can see it. You know, I'm not psychic, but it says a lot about. Now you notice he said the San Francisco 49. Now, so it's funny because as a musician, you can tell he's a technology guy.
Right.
He's
a
traditionalist. He's also innovative, like the innovative offenses of Bill Walsh. So
wow.
He identified with the
West Coast offense early in the process.
He identified with the technology. He identified, so he's from DC, so he's fly. Look at him. He identified with what the San Francisco at that time represented, which was it was elite, it was new technology, but they would whoop that ass. Now, Ronnie Lott will knock your ass out. So don't get it twisted. So it's much like DC. Don't let the light skin fool you now. He might have a shank. Don't think because he got the Ralph Lauren.
We're gonna keep you here early.
He got the Ralph Lauren on that he won't take out them Achilles heels if things get crazy.
Hey, Mark, speaking of Ronnie Lott, man, you know Ronnie Lott, I believe his father was in the military here, and I think he was stationed somewhere out here when he was a kid. And he used to live in Bradbury Heights in Prince George's County, Maryland. Then they moved to the West Coast. But I'm sure he lived there for a while. I used to play for Bradbury Heights football myself as a kid.
So on this show, you find out things you didn't know before.
Wow.
So that being the case, the Game Hunter, DC guy. Yes, let's start, man, with the musical backdrop of DC, man. And let me tell you something, Greg. Bootsy, we call him the questioner. Tonight I'm gonna call him the questionator because he loves this kind of stuff. Bootsy sat at the knee of Maurice White and traveled with Earth, Wind and Fire. So even though he's in his early 40s, he's an old head. So Greg, let's start at the beginning. So break it down. DC guy, how did you get into the music piece? Where did it all start?
Man, that's a great question. It's actually in my DNA. My dad was a professional drummer in the early 50s, late 50s, 60s, and so forth. And he used to play along the whole U Street corridor back in the day when it was hot. when you had the Art Blakeys,
Oh wow.
the Cab Callaways,
Yes,
you
you
know,
do.
going back a while ago. So he used to play with this group called the Marc Clarke Quintet, who was the band leader. And so my father was a jazz drummer, and they recorded. I actually had 2 albums that they made right over here. So my brother and I both honestly got the music touch, if you will, as kids growing up in DC. And my mother, you know, her and my dad, I lost my dad when I was young. I was only 4, my brother was 8. But he laid the backdrop. They both laid the backdrop and the foundation of me getting into music at a very early age. A lot of people don't know that side of me either, Mark. They see me in the business world around town, but I've been in the music, man, since I've been 5 or 6 years old. You know, from everything from starting playing drums. And when you become a drummer, man, you kind of gravitate to picking up a whole bunch of other instruments such as guitar, keyboards, you know, bass. You know, I mean, we always had instruments laying around, and my mom was always liberal. And she would rather have us in the house doing music than out in the street doing something foolish. So, been in music a very long time.
And Greg, so Bootsy also is he's a go-go guy.
Oh, okay, good.
And so talk to us about the landscape almost pre-go-go, you know, because I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think it's, you know, the rich jazz history, the rich musician history, you know, you got the, you know, the Howard, obviously, you got the Mecca, there's a lot of just historic stuff going on. And that was even before go-go kind of blows
Plus, it
up.
all goes hand in hand.
And yeah,
Plus, it all goes hand in hand anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna give you an example. I was a little younger, 4 years younger than my brother, but my brother used to play in a local band, pre-70s, pre-go-go, and I used to go a lot of their concerts. You know, he said, "Hey man, you can go tonight if you're gonna valet and lift some equipment. We'll let you go to the concert." That kind of thing. You know, when you're young with a 4-year age difference on your older brother, that's like 30 years. You know what I mean? So sometimes you can go, sometimes you can't. So he played with a band called Cro-Magnon Funk, and they actually used to gig with Chuck Brown and the likes of a lot of other bands, Fate's Destiny, The Aggressions. There was a ton of bands out there that time, pre-70s, before go-go actually came around. But, you know, they were doing a little bit of more R&B, top 40 type stuff, you know, on those types of gigs. So those definitely were the pre-go-go days before Chuck really blew up and ran with the whole go-go flavor. But you can't be in DC and not, you know, have a taste of go-go and appreciation of go-go.
Were you a jazz head? Were you more R&B? Were you a combination of all?
Man, I listened to coming up. We listened to everything because my mom played everything from the Motown sound, all of those acts. You know, we grew up. That was our playlist. Mom would drop that music on. She would go to the record store and buy, you know, 1545s and might pick up a couple of albums along the way. So you just sit there all day long when you cleaning the house on a Saturday or whatever. Mom is just grooving. So yeah, but I loved all forms of music, R&B, a lot of soul, a lot of jazz, a lot of fusion, a lot of rock. So I grew up on all of that, you know, the Sly Family Stone type of thing, you know, James Brown, you know, Parliament Funkadelic, you know, the Moments. We can go on and on and on of all the different music that I listened to coming up.
Game Hunter, I would love to know what area in high school did you grow up in? Because I know, you know, geographically, there was always different sounds and different movements going on in different areas. I would love to know what area did you grow up in and what high school did you go to? And because I know it was rich high school traditions back then in those days.
Yeah, DC. I grew up in Northeast Washington, DC. If you're familiar with the historic trademark or landmark near the Shrimp Boat,
absolutely,
100%. Capitol Bennett Road,
100%.
Yeah. So I was a stone pebble away from RFK, and I went to actually Eastern High School. And I
sorry to hear that.
High school back in 1979. So that's
okay. What was that like? Because as you know, for people who do know, Easton has a real serious, rich marching band tradition. Like, let me tell you something. If you ever want to get into a debate, into an argument, talk to somebody about Easton and their marching band. What was it like, you know, in the 70s? Because obviously the tradition went on. The pride of Capitol Hill, the blue and white marching machine, and Lord knows, one of the worst things that, I don't want to say worst things, but one of the things that ignited Easton High School was when DC Cameras recorded and their marching band was in it. They ain't never let us live that down. So what was that like growing up around that area and just being around such a rich musical high school tradition back then?
It's interesting. A great question. I actually went to Woodson Junior High, and there was a band leader named Mr. Sands. I never played in any of the marching bands, but I played with numerous bands throughout the years coming up. But Mr. Sands actually came over to Eastern High School after he left Woodson Junior High because he led the band over there and came to Eastern. But you're right, it's a very rich tradition on Capitol Hill. As a matter of fact, we just had a big alumni weekend at Eastern High School this past weekend.
Heard.
We have a brand new coach who's an alumni, Roman Mars. So
yes, he is. I know Roman.
Roman, he's a personal friend of mine. So we're excited about him, and we kind of rallied behind him as a first-year football coach and what he's doing to the program and turning that program around, and the respect amongst the kids and the football team is amazing. They won their first game in 4 years Friday night. So it was great, man. So, yeah, you're right. Easton has a rich history of winning in sports. When I was there, they won two football championships back-to-back in 77 and 78. So he's trying to restore that winning pride on the hill, if you will.
Yes, I am. And the interesting thing is I've seen more alumni this year, more than ever, go back to Eastern High School. Now, amazing thing happened. There was this amazing play that Marc was hosting and was a part of. It was called Grease with a little side of mumble sauce. And literally half of the people in there were from Eastern. And all you saw was Eastern tag.
Oh, you locked up. Bootsy, you locked up on me. Well, I tell you what.
No, it's all good because, Eastern, man, our alumni, Mark, and Bootsy is extremely tight, man. We're probably one of the tightest alumni in the city between, other schools like McKinley Tech, H.D. Woodson.
Shout out to them. Shout out to McKinley Tech, baby. Shout out to McKinley Tech.
Those are some really Dunbar. Those are some very strong alumni, but Easton is right up there with the ranking with the rest of them and the best of them.
So Bootsy, I want to give, before we get too deep in the show, we want to hear a little bit of the Game Hunter, a little bit of what he does, Bootsy, and then we'll come back and we'll get into that because he wears many hats, as you mentioned. Many know him for the business world. Many know him on the music side, but the fact that you'll love Bootsy is the fact that he wears so many different hats in the music game. So here's a little bit of one of your latest, I believe, sir.
Yeah, the recent single.
Yeah, you can tell us. It's still going on.
Still going on.
It's a little bit up.
Still going on and on, still going on. Still going on. People dying, mothers crying. It's still going on. Wicked people standing still. It's still going on. Color of my skin, I can't win. It's still going on. Because I'm black, I may be killed. It's still going on. Sisters and brothers dying in the streets, disrespected and assaulted by police. No intent to carry out the law. Acting on the hate within their heart. Same story, different pages. Children locked away in cages. Still going on. Pain hiding, different phases. Struggle don't quit, no. Even when peace is anticipated. Still going on. All these bombs shaking up the streets.
I think you're on mute, Mark. You're on mute.
Obviously,
yeah, you were on mute.
Another, a classic DC sound. You got a little Marvin sound in there. The videos, the bomb. I'll post the video. I'll put the video in post. But yeah, man, talk to us about that. Obviously, you can't be in DC and not be influenced by the legacy of a Marvin Gaye sound. But it's not just Marvin, right? It's a DC sound in a sense.
It's a DC sound, man. And a lot of people don't realize that I've been songwriting, Mark, probably since before high school, man. That's a passion of mine. I enjoy sitting around in my studio, composing, on keyboards, on guitar, on bass. Or
hey,
whatever.
man, you got that guitar, man. You don't play a little guitar tonight before you get out of here, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the whole idea of how this song evolved, man, I was working on a track, last year sometime, just trying to get the groove going. And as I was sitting there just kind of working through the chords on the keys, then I started playing around with the congas.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And it just kind of gave me, I wasn't listening to any Marvin. I love Marvin. That's my guy. But at the time, I was just in a real creative state of mind. And so I was just getting the groove going. And so it was just starting to flow, man. And just putting all the elements of what you hear, and making it happen. And I finally got I composed it in one of my workstations over here. And then I dumped it into my digital audio workstation and began to really, really work on the tune as a producer. And, so it just all of the things that we've been going through. I know we'll talk about this, but I wanted to do something relevant, something that's real, that people can relate to, and all the things that we've been going through as a people, man, since the beginning of time. And it just hurt. And just to let you know, I unfortunately lost my wife of 32 years 2 years ago, not to COVID, but to a terminal illness that she had. And she knew I was working on a jazz project, which I released in 2020. That's called the Hunter Summer Nights. And she said, you got to keep moving forward and get that project done. So I had so much inspiration, Mark and Bootsy, to really get this project done. So the way it evolved, because I write, I sing, but a lot of times I'll bring in the talent that I need. Think of me more of that producer. I'm not an artist. I'm more the producer, behind the scene guy, the mastermind. I've always admired folks like Quincy Jones, Bernard Edwards, Nile Rodgers,
right?
Those kinds of guys. Bluey with Incognito. Think of me of that, Robert Glasper, bringing in talent, going out, seeing talent, getting them in my studio. And once they get it, they're like, oh my God, man, you got a real studio. You write and you produce. So that's where I was at. So how all evolved, because it had a Marvin flavor to it. I reached out to a very good friend of mine who's one of my writing partners. He lives in Philadelphia, and we've been writing songs together for years. So I told him, I said, man, I need a strong hook on this. I told him what the message I want. I said, the message has got a Marvin flavor. Marvin talked about what's going on in the early 70s and all the things that Marvin identified in that classic album, that particular song. If you think about it, the war, civil rights, racism. I mean, can I go on and on and on? All the things he was talking about, we said to each other, well, it's still going on. The same stuff. It's even worse today, as a matter of fact. So that's how the whole concept evolved. So I shared it with him. He said, well, give me a minute to work on it. And he hit me back. He says, Greg, I think I got a hook. I said, what's the hook? It's still going on.
Wow.
It's still going on. I was like, that's it. That's it. That's so relevant. I said, we can work with that. But as you see, the message is so clear, and it was at a time, the gentleman that's singing the lead on that, he's a local artist. His name is Jade Campbell, 30-year-old talented dude that was sent to me by a gift of God through another musician buddy of mine, because they know I'm always looking for talent to work with. He said, man, I got this young guy that can sing. He needs to get in the studio with you. I've been telling about you for years. So he finally got in here, and we sat down collectively to come up with the whole lyric theme, the whole thing, message that we want to talk about. So between Tony in Philly, Jade here locally, myself here locally, and then I had a female vocalist come in, Keisha, who did an amazing job on the backgrounds as well. And I also reached out to Wes Felton, who's writing.
That's my guy.
One of his best friends.
Absolutely.
About the project last summer. And he's like, man, I said, man, I need 16 bars for you to MC and come up with an incredible message. immediately. He's like, man, this is great. This is an excellent idea. Got him in here and he spit those 16, man. And it just whole project just came together, man. He was like, yo, man. He said, man, I didn't know. I said, I didn't know you got there like this. I said, man, I've been doing this a long time, man. I don't hit records on the wall, but believe me, it's coming. And I worked with a ton of people.
I love the way you layered the vocals, the way you layered the vocals. So Greg, is that, again, is that your guidance, you know what I mean? Because you knew what you wanted out of that. How does that process work when you bring a singer in?
I'm also an audio engineer, Mark. So all of my equipment here, I've been in audio engineering since I was a kid. I was always the guy in the band that always figured out how to record us. Guys are like, man, how do we record? I'm talking about taking you back to cassette tape days and 4-track recorder days. I still have my first TAC recorder that I purchased. My brother and my cousin I purchased in the early 70s when we first started doing multi-tracking. So, I enjoy recording. I understand the whole digital environment. So yeah, that whole piece was recorded and mixed by myself. I mastered it up in Bethesda with a great guy. It's a guy named Conrad that has a beautiful studio in their home, his parents' home in Bethesda. So he mastered it for me. But I spend, as you see, there's a lot of work and hours on the production of that project. So I'm playing all the instruments that you hear. I compose the track, the arranging, the production itself, the producing. I have another buddy of mine who's a great guitarist in the area. He's playing some guitar on it for me, Doc Flowers. But for the most part, every instrument that you hear, I compose and perform that on that track.
And it's interesting because Bootsy has been music director for various go-go bands and different projects. You guys, you touched on it. I grew up as a musician. I'm a wannabe musician, wannabe comedian, wannabe this, wannabe that. So I grew up around playing in the jazz band. And I play saxophone, and the thing that I thought was funny, and I think Greg, we're kind of in the same generation. Bootsy is a little younger than us, but so it was funny, Greg. I know you remember this, but you were already a recording person. But I remember a lifetime of playing in marching bands and jazz bands, and really back then, you didn't have access to recording studios unless you were really going to do something, right?
Or you had some money.
Right. Yeah. So I remember in college, I played saxophone. So I played saxophone on my friends. We went into a studio in a college town and recorded one of his songs. I played saxophone on it. And then that was my first time in the studio. And I've been playing since 3rd grade. And I could say that was college. So then I graduate, and my first girlfriend in Huntsville, Alabama, when the game changed, Greg, you know what to say. So then you had cats who were musicians, quote unquote, but they didn't play any instruments. But so my girlfriend's brother, though, had a whole album he had produced at his house in his basement. And man, I listened to the project and it was better than any, I was like, what the hell? Like also Bootsy, this is the first time I heard Public Enemy.
Oh, nice.
What's the Night Train, that. And I was like, that whole production piece. So he was a big fan. I was blown away because I was like, I'm a musician who's studied music and blah, 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 blah. But this is a whole new world that I had no idea even existed. And then I did. And so I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, and a 17-year-old Brian McKnight I met because his brother, Claude McKnight, and the rest of the group were Take Six. They were in college, and they just got nominated for a Grammy. And so they were singing jingles for radio stations. So you can imagine how crazy those were. Yeah. And so, but I'm just saying all that to say, Greg, how it changed from almost, I guess that would be the audio world changed when the digital came in, I guess, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, I've always, when I was a kid, I was the guy that would, when mom would bring those albums home, I would be the guy that throw the headphones on and open the album and just read all the credits.
Right.
I always was curious about, well, who's playing that sax? Who did that arrangement? Who did that vocal? Who's singing right there? Who's playing bass? Who did that solo? Who produced that? Who wrote that song?
Right.
Where was it recorded? All that was so intriguing to me. And I was like, man, I want to get into that. So
what was the first album? Game Hunter. What was the first album that ever sparked you though? Like, what was the album that really triggered something for you during those processes?
Probably some Parliament or something. America Eats Its Young or something like that.
Wow.
George Clinton type stuff. Some Sly and the Family Stone.
Right.
You know, any of that kind of stuff always threw me away. You know, James Brown. I mean, we had all that, you know, all the time. So yeah, any of those artists, they would come to town and we would actually go to the Lowe's Palace. That used to be on F Street back in the day. We're talking about in the 60s. That's where the shows and the concerts would be when artists would come to town. That was the venue. And yeah, so we're going way back, man. But this whole evolution of audio your favorite always amazed me, you know, starting out with cassette tapes, reel to reel, then going to CDs, then going to MP3, then going to DAT tape, and everything is a DAW, a digital workstation, and you're going to FLAC files now and WAV files. So just understanding and embracing the technology. You're right. Most musicians, they don't really get into this side of the business. They're just used to just playing and gigging and learning songs and all that. But this has always intrigued me. This has always been fascinating.
Do you think it's still value in maybe doing reel to reels? I mean, obviously, because it's such a warm sound. Do you ever think they'll get back to the day when we'll be doing more manual to digital versus digital to digital?
I would like to see more of that, because an analog environment with a digital environment, it can work to me, because analog gives you that grainy, warm sound, you know,
super warm.
Sometimes digital is too clean. Like even when I record, you know, I kind of leave some things with a human feel to it. I don't quantize every instrument, everything that I lay, every hi-hat, every snare. I might kind of keep it loose because I'm a drummer, so I kind of program kind of loose a little bit, if you will, when I'm programmed. But I do play live instruments on my tracks as well. That's a live bass that you hear on their live guitar on that particular song as well.
So, gentlemen, now this is a little different, but since we are musical nerds, and you started off the Game Hunter, you said something that I thought was interesting. And Bootsy, you do the same thing, that bringing people together. So obviously, DJ Khaled's latest album, God Did. First of all, I laugh, Greg, because when he started doing that goofy God Did thing, you know, and he's always doing something, right? You're just like, oh, that's Khaled being Khaled. But then he puts together damn near everybody in the game on this album, right? And I can't wait to ask you, Greg, the Game Hunter, because you do the same. And it's like, there's a couple things, you know, I got to ask you about. Number one, everybody's talking about Jay-Z's verse on God Did, which is crazy. And Jay-Z's what, like 50, about 52, 53 or whatever. And there was a time, the Game Hunter, when we said, oh, when you get past, nobody wants to hear a rapper over 35, right? And then on that track alone, it's Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, DJ Khaled. Also, I mean, Jay-Z's verse is crazy, but what I'm starting to notice is it's the way everything is set up. You know, the breaks, how the track breathes, how at certain points there's a certain crescendo, a build up, a drop off. So I just want to just play a little bit, because I am still, and then Jay's verse is so crazy because now it's almost like it's bigger than even rapping. You are at a successful level where you can reflect on your own success and talk about your narrative while still rapping, though. And nobody talks that shit better than Jay-Z.
Right.
Probably nobody has the spoils of winning like he does either.
Right.
So it's more than just, is he the best rapper? It's like he's kind of got to a level where it's like he's in his own space. But anyway, I just wanted to just give a little bit, because, you know, I'm so in love with it. Then I want that professional ear from you, Game Hunter, and you, Bootsy, the youth on this, just to share your thoughts.
Okay.
If you can find it.
Right. What happened? I was so excited.
Yeah.
He was down 10 for this. We just got his 10 back, then went back like where the interest is. M light up the 03. We let y'all do the Zazas, OG for the OGs. Some you niggas out of pocket talking exotic. You barely been it up behind. That's another topic. Monogram in my pocket off red carpet. You see the face I made that night, shit is that shocking. Ours wasn't great, we even be alive. Gotta be crazy to y'all, nigga, we surprised. Shit is too much how we grew up. Shit don't even feel real to us. OG sold it, OG called Kingpin. If those are drug laws, then who are we then? Hove is a real nigga's dream. My only goal to make a real nigga feel seen. Sometimes I make a fake nigga hate life. Never my intentions, the consequences of my way of life. The way we used to play with life, I'm now careful with the sentences. Them only jail bars of life. I never wanted to be the state's custodian. The laws are draconian. With those married to the life, it's holy matrimony. Somehow I outfox every box that try to throw me in with great ceremony. Yeah, folk in them told me how Holly Caddy spoke of him, and bloke in them from London, Harrow Road, Western End. I be speaking to the souls of men, those of them willing to die for the existence that this cold world has chose for them. Kicking snow off a frozen Tim, back and forth on his turnpike, really took a toll on them. A lot of fallen soldiers on these roads of sin. Those who make the laws, I'ma always have smoke for them. I got lawyers like shooters, working pro bono for him as a favor cause I thrown the limbs. In memory of T-Lo, I pray none of your people die over jail phones again. All this pain from the outside inspired all this growth within. Some new planes getting broken in. Highest elevation of the self. They the fuck around and gave the right niggas wealth. These ain't songs, these is hymns, cause I'm him. This is Psalm 151, this is New Testament. Book of Hove. Jesus turned water to wine for Hove, it just took a stove.
Okay, so
he's the master, man.
I said Jay-Z, he's the only rapper that elevates you and makes you feel like shit at the same time. So the Game Hunter. Jesus turned water into wine. He used the stove. Game Hunter, production wise, because I think we look at DJ Khaled and be like, yeah, but what does DJ Khaled do, right? So the Game Hunter, talk to us about, because Khaled's been doing this now for what, a decade or so.
Yeah,
talk to us about what
longer than a decade. Actually, longer than a decade.
And so talk to us guys about, and equally you guys. Talk to us about what he does and why it's valuable and why and what is that space about? Because we always know the artists are always the talent's the talent, but he's obviously bringing them together and getting paid for it. How's he doing it, Game Hunter?
Well, I think a gentleman like Khaled, man, he's connected, number one, and he's relevant, and he's got an ear to masses. So he could very easily put a record out and get the quality folks that he needs to make that record sell. So he's in a position of power, man. So he's well liked, and I have to commend him for being able to pull that off. That takes a special person that's well connected and well respected in the industry. So he's able to make that happen because of the relationships that he has out there, and he sells records. What can you say? He gets people. He fills up arenas. 20,000 seat arenas, people show up.
So Game Hunter, it's interesting because you're spitting game. So like the traditional musician, we would say, oh, well, Quincy Jones is a producer, Khaled's a producer. But what you just tapped on is almost like you said, it's almost a social producer. It's almost like who I can bring into my Bootsy. You're very much that way. You're in the go-go world. Everybody loves Bootsy. You don't ask for favors, but if you ask people to show up in one place, they will. And so that's something that never gets talked about. It doesn't really get talked about. And so what you're saying, Game Hunter, is he's not necessarily even the one from the technical production side that's even playing that game at all. He's almost the marketer, production. He's the connector, and then the marketing production aspect.
Yeah, he stamps his name on something. That's huge, man. Just having the affiliation with him, it's big things are going to happen.
And so Bootsy,
Yeah, I mean, I agree the same thing. The other thing about him is that he had been doing this for a long time, and he was doing it. This is almost like he could be going on almost 20 years of this.
Bootsy, you might have to click your. Can you click your mic off and click it back on? You're turning into a droid.
Yeah, it's a little distorted.
And you know, Game Hunter got that ear, so you know we're in trouble. Any better?
He sounded digital, you know.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
You might have to come back, man. Come back, Bootsy. Click off and click back on. Yeah. And so also, Greg, so here's Jay-Z at 50, let's say 53.
Yep.
Dude, it's almost like his lane, he's in a lane by himself.
That's true.
You know, what do you think?
He
what
happens? Go away and retire, come back, retire, come back. He keeps saying he's retired. Next thing you know, he's got a new product out. So I don't think he'll ever retire. You know, he'll stay relevant. You know what I mean?
It's interesting because I think the you know, there's still space for, I guess, traditional musicianship. Rap has taken on its own space. You tapped on something that's important. I think, sadly, what happened with rap really was it was just about sales and money. And I think even the art form, that's why Jay stays relevant. The real rappers can stay relevant because a lot of the artists who are popular, they sell a lot of records, but they're not saying anything.
They're not saying anything.
You know, on that same track, Lil Wayne said he was the and again, it's all about wordplay. Lil Wayne said he was the apex. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I thought about it, Greg. I was like, what percentage of fans even know what he's talking about? You know, he's the apex predator. Basically, he has no, you know, he has no rivals. He has no, but I'm like using, you know, just like with Jay-Z, a lot of the stuff the kids don't even know what it's talking about, even though they call themselves fans of rap. They're not necessarily fans of words, so it's an interesting kind of dynamic. Bootsy, that's your generation, Bootsy.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, much better.
Okay, finally. Yes. So yeah, no, I mean, I know I came in. It's interesting is the fact that Cali can bring all these people consistently and get younger people in a demographic excited about them that they probably would not be that excited about if they were on their own record. And I just think what he has really mastered is being a ringmaster. And, you know, he's been doing this for 20 years almost. Like he's been doing this. I mean, I'm So Hood was almost 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like he's been doing this. And I will say with Jay-Z, he has mastered the art of not being seen and then being seen when he needs to be seen.
Right.
You know, I mean, because when I think about it, it may not be his greatest verse, but we've been starving so long to hear something new. It's like, oh my God, this is great. You know what I mean? Like he's really mastered it. So I think Khaled is more valuable than what we may give credit for because he's able to bring all these different people together consistently, find great tracks, and get people excited about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like he does this, he did it last year. You know what I mean? So man, Khaled is really becoming the ringmaster in hip hop.
Now, I only brought it up because the Game Hunter brought it up, and what you said that I was listening to, man, Game Hunter, is that you were like, I don't have a lot of hits on the wall, but hang on, because what you're doing, and what I'm trying to do also is, your age doesn't really matter. As long you're looking for young talent. You're not intimidated by young talent. You're not trying to snuff out young talent. You're saying, look, young talent, I have this skills. I have this set of particular skills, and you have this. Let's work together. Let's collab. Let's grow.
Man, I've always enjoyed that, Mark. I mean, it's nothing like going out on the town, you know, and running into some talent, and then I basically go up and introduce myself. They look at me and say, oh, he's an older cat, but they see that I'm serious. And when they come over and see my skill set of understanding production and songwriting and putting a whole project, a song together, they're like, wow, this guy's got amazing skill that they learn from. We learn from each other. It's a joint, you know, just experience that we're all just having a ball doing it. So I don't think, you know, I want to be timeless, if you will. You know, I just want to continue to keep going and just keep rolling. I have a neighbor of mine who has a niece that just participated in a 3-week program at the Kennedy Center, and she's in the Performing Arts School in Baltimore, and she was staying with him for 3 weeks. He called me a week ago and said, hey, my niece is over here. She came over here and she's songwriting, and I'm sitting up here working on some chords with her to help her with her songs. She's like, wow. She told her parents, I met the parents about a week ago as well. They're like, oh, my daughter, she was fascinated. She came over to your studio. She was like, she can't wait to get with you and get these songs done. So, but I love that, man. I love working with young, raw talent, man, and just putting that skill in front of them so they truly know what songwriting is all about. Because as you know, and I don't knock the radio, I listen, but as you know, it's the content of what we're hearing today is not what it should be. And another example, I have a friend of mine that went, not knocking Chris Brown, but went to a huge show. You know, he's functioning more like a rapper now. You know, he's bragging about the money that he made in Madison Square Garden, a 20,000 seat arena, and raked in $2 million. He didn't even have a live band. So he's doing track dates at a major venue like a rapper. And I'm like, when I grew up going to the Capitol Center in different places back in the day, you might pay $30 and you may see 5 acts that one night. The Commodores, Parliament, Average White Band, you know, Heat Wave, and whoever else, you know, in one night. And you got live musicians on stage performing. So they're like, the millennials are now accepting, oh, well, it's cool. I can go and spend $600 for a ticket at a venue, and I don't even need a live band anymore. Really? Are you serious?
That's a great point.
That's
that
crazy.
Is a great point. That is
I don't
a great
understand.
point. That is a great point you're making, though. It really is. You know what I mean? Because, you know, what I'm learning as I get older is how many people have not seen the live band aspect live. There's a disconnect with people who have not, in certain regions of America, have never seen a live band play together. Like they've never experienced. So, you know, that is so true. And it is a lost art. I would love to ask you, Game Hunter, who is the, taking out yourself, who do you think is the greatest musician that ever came out of the DMV area?
That's a good question, man. Musician, you mean artist or performer?
Just artist, musician. You know what I mean? Because, you know, there's so many people. You know, one name that's always thrown around is Billy Preston. That name is thrown around a lot. People, you know, just saying almost like, you know, if he had not died early, his contribution in this area. I would just love to know, in your opinion, who was the best musician or the best artist?
I would say there are a couple, man, but, you know, obviously Marvin's at the top. I mean, we got Johnny Gill. I mean, we have now some of the newer guys. Kevin Ross is
I love him. Oh my God, Kevin Ross.
Incredible kid, man. He's a hell of a producer and writer. I met his parents at his show back in November and sat with them and got a chance to go backstage with him. You know, Raheem Devon, it's a lot of talent has come out of this area, man. And, you know, and I think it's going to continue to do that, you know, but I don't have any one particular artist. I just know of several that have done. I mean, Stacey Lattisaw was, you know, I know the Lattisaw family very, very well. I remember when she was a kid. You know, I know them well. She came out of here. You know, she got Johnny on back then. So, you know what I mean? There's so much talent here, man. But what I would like to see more happening, you know, again, I'm a songwriter. A lot of the bands that perform around town, I'll quiz a lot of them. I'll go check you out, visit you, and come support you. But I always ask, if you're gigging as much as you're gigging, I always ask bands, I said, well, have you all taken any time out to work on any of your own material? Because you can very easily promote your own material while you're doing these cover songs. And I think what happens, bands are so busy, you know, gigging day to day, week to week, they don't have time to do things like that. And nor do they may have the passion to do it as well. So I remember last year or maybe a year and a half ago when CeeLo, if you remember, he was on, I think, the BET Awards show, and he had a live go-go band, but I don't think they were true go-go DC musicians. And so it was a big frenzy. Everybody was upset with CeeLo. He's a businessman. So Why get upset with him because he was doing go-go? What he ended up doing was, okay, well, I'm going to come straight to the source. He came right to DC and got with several local bands and created a couple of new songs from scratch. He's a songwriter. He's a producer, man. A lot of these folks don't write, man. I would like to see more writing going on amongst these groups locally.
Man, and so, Game Hunter, your latest project, how can people get it? How can we get the past projects? How can we see you live? What is going on?
All right, cool. Well, I just posted a link of the actual video. Have you guys seen the video on? It's still going on?
I've seen it. Bootsy has not. I was trying to share it to the screen. So
yeah,
tell us about it.
It's www.gamehunterproductions.com is my website. But if you want to see the actual video, you go /videos and the video's there. So I'm releasing officially this coming Friday. That's when the project actually is going to be released on all music streaming platforms. But you can go to my website and grab that video now if you like and take a look at it. But yeah, you can reach me that way. You can find me on most streaming services. My previous project was called The Game Hunter Summer Nights. And so this is a second project that I just released. Again, it's Still Going On. I have another project I produced on a local guitarist, Doc Flowers. Long time coming. We released that back in December. So look for more and more projects just being released right out of my studio on a regular basis from local artists and featuring many artists.
Let's see. Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah, I can see it. You can play it.
Still going on. Oh yeah, still going on and on, still going on. Still going on. People dying, mothers crying. It's still going on. Wicked people standing still. It's still going on. Color of my skin, I can't win. It's still going on. Because I'm black, I may be killed. It's still going on. Sisters and brothers die in the streets, disrespected and assaulted by police. No intent to carry out the law. Acting on the hate within their hearts. Same story, different pages. Children locked away in cages. Still going on. Pain hiding, different faces. Struggle don't quit, no. Even when peace is anticipated. Still going on. All these bombs shaking up the streets. Ooh, tear gas fogging, trying to silence me. Call me brother, know me on track. Smiling when you're killing me with a gun against my back. It's still going on. Pandemic came and went so unfair. The ones we love no longer here. Hands up, don't shoot. Keep your hands on the wheel. Swear to protect you, but they choose to kill. Still going on. Time to change, but things still go the same. It's still going on. Time to change, but things still go the same.
I can't believe we still here. Yeah, same madness, but a whole nother year. A whole nother mother, the same old tears. Little kids on the playground now playing in fear. A country divided shall not stand. 400 years later and we still less than a man. Black on black blood still stains the land, while traders storm the nation cap with flags in their hands. It's blood on the roots and blood on the soil. Like Marvin, it makes me wanna holler. We still killing for oil, we still dealing turmoil. What's the point of marches if crooked cops don't get charges? My attitude boils. We rage against each other instead of the machine. King had a dream. Malcolm said, get it by any means. The battle of evil versus the good. If I could wake up from this nightmare, believe me, I would. It's still going on.
People dying, insurrection on the hill. Tell me tonight I'll be free. What's going on down my road? These prayers of forgiving. People dying, walking dying. Starting going wrong every day. Tell me, can you keep it by? Tell me, how am I supposed to breathe? It's still going on. When you feel the things that you feel, it's still going on. He's on my neck, guns on my back. Oh, tell me why did you have to let it rest? It's still going on. Still going on. Fragmented things still going on.
Man, the classic right there. That's an instant classic. The Game Hunter. You did that, man. And, you know, like you said, if it was a just world, man, we see more music like this, more videos on the radio, you know, all that stuff. But, you know, sadly, it's a challenge, but we're going to keep it going. Shows like this, you know, as long as we start playing, who knows, right?
Yes, sir. Man, I have to give a shout out to my very near dear friend, man. I don't know if you all know Kenny Allen that had been living in Ethiopia the last 16 years. He's back now. Wow. He's a prominent artist, man. And he took the journey to go to Ethiopia 16 years ago, and he did well over there, but he's back permanently. And, you know, we got together and I shared my vision concept for the video, and he made this thing come to life, man. And I'm just so happy and thankful. Mark, I want that message to get out to the masses, man, because so many people have felt the pain of the struggle that we've been dealing with, man. And it's just been so tough, man. So I wanted to bring that story home, man, and let people know that, hey, man, we care. It's inspirational, it's empowering, it's uplifting, and we must mobilize and keep moving and fight this course, man, you know.
And the interesting thing, man, hearing the song and watching the video is so powerful because we are in such the news cycle where things just go and come and we kind of throw things away. And so the video becomes super emotional because, you know, seeing Sandra Bland and seeing, you know, Michael Brown and, you know, I mean, you know,
Right.
it's been like, this has been going on so long, it creeps up on you. You know, you look up, it's been 5-10 years, man. We still, and things don't feel like they're changing. But again, man, once again, if people want to get your music, they just go to your website.
Yeah, they can go to GameHunterProductions.com. You can get it there, and you can find it on most of your major streaming services, such as Apple, iTunes, Pandora, Tidal, you know, Deezer, Amazon, all of those, the major ones. You'll find my music on there.
And Bootsy, the questioner, as we wrap things up, you have a final question for Greg? Oh, hold on.
He's on mute. You're on mute, Boots. Can't hear you.
I can't hear you. Well, Boots, we love you, brother. We had a technical challenge, but we love you, man.
All love.
Game Hunter, man. Thanks, brother. And you know, this is the beginning, man. You'll be a regular because we got to do a song. We need to do a songwriting / conference, man, because there's so many people that have ideas and like you said, raw talent. And you'd be a godsend for them, man.
Hey, man, thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. You know how much I feel about you and your wife, man, and your family, man. I love you guys to death, man. I'm just so thankful that Rob, again, was able to make this happen for us, man. Because once he told me, he said, I can get this to Mark. I said, well, Mark knows me. Trust me. Just take care of me. Yeah, I know, Greg. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. And I'll get you on. We'll get on the Be More Lifestyle show, too. So, man, continued success, my brother. Thanks for joining us. Everybody, if you're following, make sure whatever you're watching in this on, make sure you subscribe, follow, share. And again, we're just trying to bring real conversations, hopefully to make a positive change. And Bootsy, we get a positive microphone for you too. So take care, y'all.